name-dropping thing.
Oh, okay, yes, name dropping.
So Archbishop Tutu, I've been very lucky enough to get to know. He says, people accuse me of always name-dropping. He said, only last week I was at Buckingham Palace and the Queen said, Arch, why you keep on name-dropping? That was funny, come on.
Anyway, okay, what we're going to do is very briefly go through...
Can we turn the clock back? That wasn't a good one, was it? I thought it was funny, but anyway, hopeless.
We'll get there. Anyway, we'll talk through your career a bit, and we're going to talk about starting businesses, and we're going to get some questions from the audience as well. I've got the Twitter feed going as well. So let's just go for the first slide, because your first business idea, as I understand it, was, let's stop the Vietnam War. Is that about right?
Yes, it was actually. I think the best business ideas come from people feeling passionate about something. And I was 15 years old, and like a lot of teenagers, we thought the Vietnamese War was a very, very horrible, bad war, waged by America against people who were women, children. I mean, just a ghastly war. And so we decided to start a magazine to try to lobby against it. And I managed to sell enough advertising out of the telephone box at the school to cover the printing and the paper costs. So that gave me the cash flow to get the magazine going. And then I left school to build the magazine, and it became quite a strong force in the late 60s, and quite a strong campaigning force.
Absolutely. And again, it's you in a telephone box. Nobody's ever heard of you. Just having the nerve to call people up and kind of talk them into stuff. This is kind of your history, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, because I believed in what I was doing, and I think you'd ring up Coca-Cola and try to play them off against Pepsi, or ring up Barclays Bank, try to play them off against NatWest, and so on. Anyway, somehow or another, maybe they took sympathy on me and managed to get the 4,000 quid that was necessary to get going.
And obviously they lost patience later when you went into competition with them, Coca-Cola. And
we'll come to that one.
But let's just have a look at this picture again, because that's the first student magazine. And you went around interviewing people. What's great about this is there's you thinking, I've got an interview with Mick Jagger here on the thing. I'm sure it's going to press the ladies in the pub later. And later you actually signed them to your record company.
It took sort of 20, 25 years before we managed to finally sign the record company. But but it was obviously fantastically exciting, just getting out there and trying things, and if you're bold and brash, and and don't take no for an answer, sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes it was a matter. I mean, with Mick Jagger, I literally went and stood outside. Don't everybody do this to me, please. Anyway, stood outside his house in Cheyne Walk until he said yes, and a lot of the interviews just found out when, say, James Baldwin, the writer, was coming to a hotel in London, and would go and bang on his hotel door and get a very angry interview, but at least I got an interview from a black man versus a white man. Jean-Paul Sartre and Vanessa Redgrave, and anyway, just try to be persistent and not take no for an answer.
Excellent. We're getting into full-on name dropping now. This is working well, but it obviously works. You did actually stop the Vietnam War, didn't you? Single-handedly.
Exactly. We marched on the American embassy with more name dropping, Tariq Ali and Vanessa Redgrave, and I think it was actually the campaigning of all the students on the streets in America and in Paris and in London, that finally, we're shouting LBJ, LBJ, how many kids have you killed today? Who was the president of America at the time? That finally brought it to a halt. So I think that massive global campaign managed to bring it to an end.
Absolutely. And then the learning point there was, as you said, be bold, be brash. Eventually, you'll be lucky.
Yeah, I think if you feel strongly about something, and obviously just try, get out there and try to get your message across. And That's what I was trying to do. At the same time, I wasn't interested in running a business, but I was obviously had to make the magazine survive. So, I was having to worry about the distribution, the paper manufacturing, the sales, the advertising, and so it was a very good crash course in learning to be an entrepreneur, just learning to survive.
And learning the hard way, learning it by just trying something, seeing what worked.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, it is a great way of learning about business, and that is just, however small it is, just, start a little business, and you will learn quite a lot that you would learn in a business school by just doing it.
Absolutely, so just do it. And then next thing you did was start a record store, or a series of record stores, which is partly a place for hippies to hang out, and partly you had a mail order business as well.
You get these photographs
from your book, actually.
Oh, there we go. That's great.
They're in the book.
Yes, Virgin Records, a different logo in those days. That was more hippie logo. When we got into the punk days of Sex Pistols, we put the sharper Virgin signature. They were comfortable record shops. I mean, at the moment, in those days, you had W.H. Smith's, which were, very clinical. Virgin Records was the sort of first place you go to hang out on cushions, and, if you're lucky, you'd get a spliff from the guy behind the counter, you'd buy
a herbal cigarette, obviously. A herbal cigarette. That's what he means by spliff, by the way.
Be able to buy the is that right? Anyway, you'd be able to get your bootlegs, get your music.
Oh God, it's getting worse. Let's move on quickly. Actually,
I've got him to take his tie off. I mean,
we got something. Exactly. Yeah, we got to start. Okay. Now, let's talk about because Virgin is now one of the best-known brands in the world. So let's have the true story of how you came up with the idea of Virgin. What was the origin of Virgin?
Well, the true story is, the truth is often better than fiction anyway, but the true story was we were sitting in a basement and there were a bunch of 15 and 16-year-olds, mainly women, sitting around, and I was trying to come up with a name for a record company. One of them suggested Slip Disc Records, because you had the black vinyl discs and they kept on slipping, which maybe Slip Disc Airlines wouldn't have been a good idea. And then somebody else jokingly said, we're all virgins, let's call it Virgin. And there was a lot of laughter, and we ended up calling it Virgin. And it worked because, we were Virgin in business, and we've been Virgin at almost every business that we started. It took us 3 years to get the registry office to accept the registration of it. They claimed it was rude. We said to them that it was the opposite of rude, and in the end managed to get a little bit from the English dictionary where it said virgin equals pure, and they finally accepted the registration. I think the Catholic Church were the only people who really carried on to objecting.
Well, maybe they'd come around later. And after that, it's a logical thing to start your own record company. Again, you try hard, you get luck. I mean, who would have known at the time that Mike Oldfield was going to be such a success? You just liked the tracks, didn't you? Just like the music.
Yeah, I mean, Mike was 15. He played all the instruments himself. I mean, like something like 50 different instruments. He'd overlaid them. He'd got this beautiful demo tape, and we heard it, and took it to 8 or 9 record companies. None of them would sign it unless we put vocals on it. We didn't want to spoil it with vocals, and so we decided to form a little record company. And we then had to learn about forming a record company, which we found somebody to distribute the records, and we decided to do the marketing ourselves, and managed to get people like Mick Taylor from the Rolling Stones and Stevie Winwood from Traffic and others to do one concert with him at the Queen Elizabeth Hall to really get to promote it. We managed to get some of his music in a film called The Exorcist, and anyway, Tubular Bells became a very, very big selling album, which really helped get Virgin established and attract other artists to our record label.
And then after that, so moving on to the next slide, I put this picture in. Here are some men who I understand put on suits specifically for that day. But this is just to make the point that it's all getting a bit serious now. You're looking to float the company because you want to raise money for the airline. Is that right? And so these are your, what I would call cornerstones, called the cornerstones of the book. You know, sensible people who did sensible stuff like spreadsheets and risk management, all that kind of stuff. And one's your brother-in-law as well, isn't it? Robert Devereux, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, they had their ties on for one day for the float, going down to the city and floating it. They did take them off pretty promptly afterwards. But I think there's an overemphasis in the need for you know, the whole accounting side, especially when you're setting up businesses. I mean, what really matters is coming up with a great idea that's going to really make a difference to other people's lives, and that's going to, you know, hopefully shake up a marketplace. I wouldn't recommend necessarily getting an accountant to try to work out, you know, how much money you're going to make or how much money you're going to lose, because, you know, they could come up with two completely different sets of figures. You know, just get out, you know, try your idea, and hope that at the end of the month you've got more money coming in than going out. And if it's a good idea, you know, that the chances are you will achieve that. Anyway, that's how you know. I mean, when we started the airline, if I'd actually got the accountants in, I'm sure they would have told us no way. And so you know, so by just trying it, you know, often just give it a go, and if you create something which is attractive enough, it should work.
Yeah, because you say in your books it's all gut feel with you. You just have a feeling. You don't build businesses. You just create things, see what happens. Not always with success. Sometimes it doesn't work, but you just go with your instincts, go with the flow, and take from there and be lucky.
Yeah, I think instinct rather than gut. I mean, it's instinct based on perhaps years of trying things, and every time you try something new, you know, maybe partly through past failures, you hope you get it more right than you get it wrong. So, and luck does play a part, but I think it's luck based on you know, getting your product right. So, you know, with the airline, you know, if we hadn't created the best small, you know, tiny airline, and there was only one plane when we started, when British Airways, you know, launched their Dirty Tricks campaign against us, you know, we would have been driven out of business. But because passengers like Virgin, and they stuck with it despite everything that was being thrown at us. So, you know, so you've got to try to make sure that you have an edge over the competition, that, you know, people will want to go out of their way to come and use your company, and you know, where we haven't achieved that, I mean, you know, with say Virgin Cola, I mean, you know, we thought, you know, okay, let's be bold and brave, let's take on Coke. You know, we had 6 glorious months where we really thought we were going to knock Coke into #2 position in the world. We were outselling them throughout the UK, we were outselling them in other countries that we were launching. And then they brought the big guns into there, and they sent SWAT teams and massive checkbooks, and drove our cola off the shelves of Tesco's and other places. And you know, and there we were much for muchness. You know, our brand in that market was not as strong, and you know, our drink, you know, it might have tasted a little bit better or a little bit worse, but anyway, that we didn't have that real edge of quality which we've had in other businesses.